Hey Blurdies, hey Fandom Fam, it's me, Imani, the Childcare Inspirer, and it's another week within May, which is Mental Health Awareness Month, and I'm still talking about childcare burnout. So this past week, a lot of my posts have been focusing on how to normalize the conversation um, around asking for help and recognizing that you might be putting more onto yourself than you are realizing. So it's just being able to recognize when you just need to take that time to sit and be able to calm yourself down. So let's get started. So one thing I've noticed about childcare teachers is that we're expected to be endlessly patient, endlessly caring, and endlessly strong. Like I mentioned in a video that about why we feel like we are required to be strong at all times. You know, and also nobody don't seem to talk about the pressure that it does on our mental health over time. Like I mentioned in the last video that, even though I'm tired, I love what I do. So that means that I'm doing the doing all right and that I'm fine. When in actuality, I'm not realizing that I'm not fine. It's just feeling mentally exhausted, after work, struggling to emotionally just recharge, just feel completely burnt out and stressed. Even though you love what you do, you're still just kind of like feeling it, and it's just compounding more and more. Just feeling under pressure to always stay positive, as well as feeling under pressure from parents who they seem to doubt you as a teacher. And, that made me realize that something important about mental health is that it can't be separated from childcare. So, it's part of it. It's basically part of it. I'm sorry, I'm using my notes on my tablet for this. So, childcare is an endlessly demanding job. There's constant supervision. There's have to deal with emotional regulation for children. You're multitasking. You're doing this, that. You're being a teacher. Being a caretaker. You're being a janitor, because a lot of these childcare places, they don't have like an extra janitor hired to clean. You have to clean up your classrooms yourself. When you get the time, you're cleaning up messes that kids make. You're taking care of diapers. You're making sure that you're restocking your classroom. You are making sure you also putting together activity plans. It's just a lot with multitasking. There's also the noise and stimulation. Kids, toys going off, because sometimes kids bring in their own noisy toys. You're probably playing some background music, to keep the kids entertained. You might be someone might be popping into the classroom to ask you for a favor, or they need to require for you to be removed from the classroom to talk to you about something. There's responsibilities and making sure the kids are safe. One of the biggest things that I learned when I became a childcare teacher is that above anything else, you need to make sure that you are providing a safe and healthy learning environment. Like above all else, whether you're being, whether you're educating well or not, whether you're being entertaining or boring, make sure that your classroom is completely safe for the children that you are looking after. So, you have to make sure the kids are, not only is the kids were entertained, you have to make sure that they're safe at all times. You can't, make sure that they are not hurt in any way. And if they are, you need to be on top of it and make sure that it's recorded. Basically your nervous system is staying active for hours at a time. Like you still going, go, 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 go. And, eventually your brain and your body is going to feel all of that going on. And, that's just leads to the strong teacher problem. Like we always hear about the word strong, to apply to, people when they act a certain way or have a certain quality about them. It can seem like they have it all together when in action and they're able to handle anything. But the truth is, no matter how strong you are, there's always going to be something that a person can't handle, and they'll need help. And that's the same for childcare teachers. A lot of childcare teachers are praised for may be praised for being strong, or praised for being able to, manage such a great class and be able to be the best teacher that they are for their young child. And sometimes, being strong turns into basically ignoring stress. You start suppressing your emotions. You never ask for help. You think you can handle everything and handle it all. Not just childcare teachers. I'm talking in general, but I'm, focusing on childcare teachers because, it's something that probably they're not even looking at for themselves. You're pushing through exhaustion, and over time, it ends up becoming burnout. And you should not have to destroy your mental health in order to prove that you care for the kids that you are over. When in burnout, like you don't always it doesn't have to be dramatic. You don't have to be like passing out straight on the floor or fainting, or just out of nowhere start screaming, freaking out, and all that stuff. Sometimes it just looks like emotional numbness. It's quick irritability. It's the constant feeling overstimulated, like so much is going on. Being mentally just checked out after work. Like like I said, that sometimes you could be so stressed and be under so much throughout the entire day that when you're home or going home, you still take all of that, kerfuffle with you. And that doesn't mean that you're a bad teacher. It just means that your mind is just completely overloaded. So, like I mentioned before, there's no unrealistic advice when it comes to self-care. And self-care looks different for everyone. Some of the suggestions that I recommend is having a quiet transition time, like before and after that before and after that trip home. Sometimes you just need some time to just sit down, with no noise, and just close your eyes and just completely just relax in the stillness around you. There's also reducing stimulation as much as possible when you return home. So when you get home, don't worry about the TV. Sometimes, a habit that I have is that whenever I get home, the first thing I'm thinking, this is something not just for childcare, but something that I personally do whenever a job I had. Like as soon as I get home, I'm like, I need to clean up the kitchen. I need to, that's my responsibility at home. Cleaning up the kitchen, doing dishes, make sure the kitchen's neat and right, and then I could sit down and do what I need to do. Like, or I would take a shower, but then my mind would be like, I need to clean up this kitchen, and then, for the rest of the evening, no one would bother me. But now, on some days, there are days that, I come home, calm down. Then someone just tells me, you've been at work all day. It's the weekend. You could take like one day that you could just relax and we'll take care of it, which is really appreciative. Sometimes it really helps when you have other people that's like along that's helping you to calm down. There's also, taking those mental pauses. Basically, whenever you just have the, whenever you just feel like something is too much, just close your eyes. Take a deep breath for a couple seconds. Sometimes it could be like 5 seconds or 10 seconds. And then, just let the oxygen just recycle back into your brain to help you think. And, and remember to not feel guilty about about needing rest. Like there's a time that I feel really bad about having to go to sleep when I get home. Like I'll be like, I hate having to take a nap when I get home because I have so much I need to do. There's so much going on. Like, there's stuff I need to do, be able to catch up on. But, don't feel guilty about having to sleep. If you're tired, don't push through that exhaustion. Just take the sleep you need. But don't have to sleep the entire time. Just put a set time of hours, even set an alarm for yourself for a time to be able to sleep so you'd be rested enough that you'd be able to have the energy you need to for later on instead of, continue to carry that exhaustion. And you might even be too exhausted if you sleep too much. Just have that amount of sleep that you need. And so you'll be ready, but still awake and bright for what you need to do next. And also, just to remember from all of this or any other self-care activities that you might create for yourself, that self-care, having those tiny moments of self-care, they really do matter. It could be something very small, just taking deep breaths, counting to 10, and it really does help. And this is some advice that I can give to parents that could help. Show appreciation. Remember to communicate responsibly with your childcare teachers because remember it's a partnership. We're not just throwing your kids at us to look after, and then they go back and you go and they do whatever cycle that they go through whenever they're home. We're helping them to build skills that they're going to use for the rest of their lives. So be able to be in partnership with us to communicate what they need, and hopefully we'll be able to communicate with you for what we need you to do whenever your kid is at home with you. Remember to understand that teachers are human too. We're not superheroes as much as kids might. You or the kids might seem like it. I am so sorry. There is a hair blowing in my face. That's why I'm grabbing at my face. So as much as we see childcare teachers as those superheroes, you have to remember we're still human, just like you. We're human, just like your child. So we're going to have some flaws, and we want you to be understanding as much as we can. Unless you have a legitimate reason that a teacher's not doing a good job, just be patient with us. And there's ants everywhere. Sorry about that. And also, this is for staff members and also for centers. Remember to normalize mental health uh, conversations and encourage taking breaks. You got like I'm pretty sure that you already have those kind of things established already, but I think that it'd be great to be able to remind teachers that they're there, that you need to help, be able to be have a plan to set up on what to do, be able to better help them if you don't have that, and just maybe even take a time maybe out the month to talk about mental health, and maybe incorporate it into your monthly meetings with the higher ups, with the district, with your company, things like that. Just throwing that out there. And also to support each other emotionally. A healthier environment helps everyone, including the children. And I'm pretty sure I have lip color on my teeth, but that does not matter right now. So if you're struggling mentally in childcare, you're not weak, you're not failing, and you're definitely completely not alone. Mental health is part of that job, and taking care of your mind matters just as much as taking care of everyone else around you. So remember that. While you're taking care of everyone else, remember to take care of yourself as well. So tell me what you think in the comment section. What's the hardest mental health challenge that you had to deal with in childcare or in caregiving? Because it's not always just a childcare teacher. Maybe you're a babysitter. Maybe you're someone who look after kids on the weekends. Maybe it's just a childcare sub, something that I personally am doing right now. So if you're in any capacity working in childcare, or maybe even you're a parent taking care of your kids, let me know in the comment section. And remember to like, subscribe to this channel, and share anything. It's able to continue this conversation regarding childcare, especially burnout and caregiver support. So that's all I have for today. Thank you guys so much. Remember to follow me on all my other social media. I'm probably going to put the link to it in this video. Remember to stay blessed and learnful, fear less, care more, and have the loveliest of lovely days. Bye.